welcome back for another episode of the Living Novel, a new genre of literature that I've been introducing. It's right now online. If you went to the BaysideExperiment.com, there's a landing page, and that's kind of like a working title. But inside is Living Novel, how it works, and it's got 13 chapters that are growing exponentially, or not exponentially, but growing with contributors from people I've worked with in the film industry and television when I was at 60 Minutes and local news and CBS Sports and friends of mine. And they join my living novel by making their contributions to chapters that are about them and kind of hyperlinks to them. Then when I was in the movie industry, working with Johnny Depp on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and then Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore and Whoopi Goldberg. I've got friends of mine that worked on those films with me, and when I talk about those in the book, they're adding portions of the chapter, joining in on it, and it kind of grows. But anyway, so. When this show is on, except I did miss one that was like 4 o'clock in the morning. They put it on, Patrice put it on at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know if anybody was watching, but I fell asleep and I didn't take the landing page off. So, but usually I'll take the landing page off, and then we interact together in this book. And there's 3 different sections of it. There's 13 chapters of a past, there's a blog of the president, and then there's a part that it's called That Went Out with the Mayan Calendar. And that's about the future and things we can do and fun exercises we can engage in to give ourselves a better world, and improve things. So, and I just love it that I mentioned at the last show that we had the Mayan calendar ended now. And I actually have a picture of the sunset on what was supposed to be the official last day of the Mayan calendar, and the sunset was gorgeous, and it's in that on that online book. But I just thought, the things that we can do away with, and that now that we kind of know better. We should be able to do better. So bad habits and things that we do that are dysfunctional in our society, if we took a look at them and said, that might be easily changed, and it doesn't take a lot, and the world would be a better place. So I put those things in. That went out with the Mayan calendar. So you can look at that when, if you're seeing this, then you can log on to the Bayside Experiment and see what's inside of it. Explore it. It's kind of fun. We talked about in the last show with Chris LaCour from the LaCour Gallery. He's a fun, nice guy. We were talking about things that we might see visually. I can't wait because you see things visually, and you create an art out of words. So you're really interesting to me because my medium is really about words. So is yours, but you take words and you make them into a visual thing. So I'm going to move quickly into our wonderful guest, Brad Beyer. Brad Beyer. And so Brad, you are one of the most interesting guys I've met out here, and I met you over the winter with you playing harmonica at Talk, and I was going down and live streaming Talk on Monday nights at these jam sessions, and boy, have they grown. I want to take all the credit for it. Oh, well, because it's my TV show. But I can't. It's Joe is one of the most talented musicians. This guy is so good, and he brings all these musicians together, and on Monday nights they were doing this jam session. So over the winter, I was in there just live streaming stuff to try to help promote it, and then realized, wow, these guys are really good. And then every week, there's more people would come, and then Brad shows up and he's playing harmonica. I was like, well, even this guy, who's this guy? All of a sudden, I got this great musician, and I'm meeting all these fun people. And you, Brad, are one of the more fun and more interesting people I've met.
You need to meet more people. If I'm one of the most interesting you've met.
Well, look, you're interesting in so many ways. First, you're a great artist, and the art that you do is really interesting. We're going to be doing a whole special on Brad at his home and gallery to really just focus in and show you all of his art. And I wasn't expecting this, but so you brought a couple of pieces here.
A couple, yes.
So let's just show that for a second, and then we'll go into talking more about
Since you were talking about musicians,
Yeah.
2 years I've been trying to do a piece on the Stephen Taukus. And this piece has 400 musicians in it. And you know Bosco
Yeah.
and Cliff. Cliff was the first musician that played at the Talk House. He's up here. Bosco's played at the Talk House more than any musician at all. I don't
Okay,
know
let
if-
me explain. Let me explain to everybody. This piece that you're looking at. So whether it's a face or whatever it is, you're looking at it, and then until you get really close to it, and you realize, oh my God, this is words. And in this case, it's names of musicians. So
Correct.
So first of all, you have to have a lot of different names to come up with.
There's
But then you're
400
using people's names in different places to create their eyelids and their
Right.
mouths and
400 different names here.
400 different names
We
of
even
different
got,
musicians are written in there to create that piece of art.
Jimmy Lawler's in here. He works here, right? Jimmy works here?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mama Lee and Jimmy are here. I know it's hard to see on the camera, but we took this now and blew it up to 30 by 40, and it's being framed, and it's going into the Talk House. So
Oh, that's great.
it'll be
That's-
on display there
That's
for
great.
them. And I'm hoping to do a QR code that we could put in, that you go up to the QR code with your phone. You want to learn about Stephen Taukus, the individual, because there was an individual, Stephen
Yeah.
Taukus, Taukhus. And strange as it seems, his heritage and my heritage are joined.
Really?
I'm lined up with
Got some DNA going on there?
yeah, unbelievable. Lion Gardner and Chief Wyandanch were the ones that transferred the possession of land on the Napeague and Montauk Indians. And
Gardner's
Lion
Island.
Gardner's in my bloodline through the Hildreth family, and he's a pharaoh. He's in bloodline with Chief Wyandanch of the Montaukets. So they met on a beach and transferred. I'm sure we gave him a great deal. It's like, here's $12. We'll take Napeague. And so that's in here. And then these are all the out-of-town people, and these are all the locals that from the inside. So I tried to get this done for 2 years, and we finally got that done. So
I was just about to ask, how long does something like that
this
take you?
took a long time. Cliff was instrumental, and Cliff and my son's father-in-law, Glenn Kushner, who's a bouncer at the Talk House years
Yeah.
ago, he remembered so many people, and they were instrumental in getting me a list. And then you got to decide where you want to put the names. And this was a little different because it was all no lyrics; it was just names. The other pieces I've done are made with lyrics and stuff about their life. I try to mix art, music, and history, the three things that I really like the most, and you use them to make the picture tells a story. So you can't just walk by this and say, "Oh, there's a guy." If you read, I write a backstory up for each piece I do. Like this here, this is the Brooklyn Bridge. It's hard to see on the camera, I bet, but which way? This is made up of every name that we could find that worked on the bridge.
Oh, really?
31 people drowned. They're down here in the water. It says, "Rest in peace." It says, "Never taken for granted." And here's the engineers that built it. I read a book on the bridge by David McCulloch, The Great Bridge.
Yeah.
I actually listened to it. I had lost my eyesight for 10 months, and it couldn't see, couldn't move. So I listened to about 150 books on audio, most of them history, biographical music, and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to do that. So this mixes all their names, and it builds the bridge. It's kind of cool.
It's amazing. Every time I've seen these things, I'm looking at it, and I realize you get close. It's like, read this thing. It's words. You're
We
telling
blew
stories.
that one up on a canvas.
Yeah.
This became a canvas, 4.5 feet by 6, and we tinted it like a mustard color. And the bridge, we blew it up. I blew up the Brooklyn Bridge. Only 2 people are going to hear this, right? So, and it's next door. My next door neighbor did it.
Yeah.
And it's in her place. And this, I don't know if you can see this, but is that good?
Yeah, it's great. Look at that.
That's, of course, Dwayne, and that's his nickname, Sky Dog. The outer edge of the guitar on one side is the history of that particular guitar, which you can see in the bigger print. The lower edge is every guitar he ever owned until he passed. And then you mix names of songs and stuff that he's done here. If he did a song about seeing or a lyric about eyes or nose or ears, you try to find them and put them in there. But we'll go over this more when you come out to the house.
Yeah,
That's life
as
size.
I mentioned, we're going to be doing a whole special on this guy's art in his house, in his gallery, because it really is fascinating. How did you start doing that? I mean, it's not like something, I think I'll just draw a
Good
face
question. I
with
used to
words.
draw back in school, in college. I was in Santa Barbara in the 70s. That's a statement right there.
Yeah.
And I'm still here. I was a drummer then. I paid my way through school as a drummer and playing in all these different bands, jazz bands and all sorts of stuff. And I used to do charcoals. I would do charcoal of Ernest Hemingway. We'll show you them too. And Chief Joseph. And then, I came home and I taught myself the piano in 74, I guess it was. And you get busy. We all got busy with families, busy with life, busy building houses, busy with a million injuries, whatever. And the music sort of went aside, and the art for 40 years, I didn't do anything. And then my brother's birthday was coming around. My brother's a great musician also, Bruce Beyer. You've seen him around with Danny Coots, and he plays with the Hoodoo Loungers.
Yeah.
Joe Laurel, and those guys. He's a great drummer, a great dad. He's just the greatest guy. And his birthday was coming up, and we were big Beatle nuts. Everybody was. And I wanted to do something special for him. I said, but I just don't want to draw him just any picture of John Lennon. I said, it's got to be something. I thought about it. I probably thought about it for 3 years. And I said, well, how can I do something that's different that I know of, no one's ever done? And then I just, the word imagine, of course, stayed in my head. And I said, that's how John perceived the world. So it was June 23rd, coming up to his birthday, July 24th. I said, I better get busy. And I was up in I had an office then up in Butter Lane, Bridgehampton, in an old potato barn for my inspection business. And I turned off the AC. I put on John Lennon music. I let it get hot. I took off my shirt. Said, the old masters didn't have AC. I needed to get, and I had a piece of paper. I had a Riverhead Lumber building supply pencil. And I said, I'm going to try. And I thought for sure it'd be like this. And I wrote the word imagine. And it was like where the pupil of his eye is, but he didn't have an eye yet. I had to construct the eye. And I put a little rectangle around that. I said, that's the first thing I did in 40-something years. And I said, well, just try. And I started going. And I turned up the music, and it got hotter. And I'm starting to get jazzed up. And I said, holy crap, I just built an eye. And then it evolved, and pretty soon I had half a face, and I stopped. I came back to it, and I did a little bit more. And then the third time I came back to it, I'm looking at it, and as you know, John's life ended suddenly, 40 years old, December 8th, 1980. And I said, you know what? I'm going to leave the drawing undone, incomplete, like his life. And you'll see it sort of just hangs there. And I gave it to my brother, and I wrote this inscription on the bottom of it, what a value he has been to me as a brother, because luckily I had 2 older brothers. And so I got to hear Elvis in the beginning, Little Richard in the beginning. My dad was a trumpeter, so we grew up listening to big band music, jazz, all that stuff. There was always music. We had a jukebox.
In your house?
60s, in my house.
Cool.
My oldest brother, Bob, is a freaking genius. Somebody said, this jukebox doesn't work. He said, let me look at it, and I could probably, what do you want for it? $40. He brings the jukebox home when the Beatles were coming out. February 64. What a great time for records, right? So we filled up the jukebox with continuous 45s. It was an education process the whole time. And we had that going in the house. Our house was the house of Sag Harbor. All the kids came there. Everybody was respectful. Nobody went into your refrigerator and just grabbed a tuna fish sandwich without asking. Different, right? Nobody.
Are they doing that now?
Nobody. Oh God, they curse in your house. It's just so different.
They're still in the tuna fish sandwiches without asking?
Oh, they just go. Well, they know there's always.
Oh,
food
what is the world coming to?
Yeah, no respect. I get no respect. So that's how it was. There was always music going. So I got the picture done, and I wrote this inscription on the bottom of thanking my brothers for sharing, because they could have said, look, you're 5 or whatever you are, you're not coming into the fort. You're not coming into the tent. You know, we got the RCA radio here. Get the hell out of here. You know, you're not allowed. No. Come on in, keep your mouth shut. And I got to hear that stuff in the beginning, the 78's, the whole deal. So the history of music in my home and in my family goes back 100 years in Sag Harbor. Pretty cool.
So look, I'm fascinated with this side of your life. Tell everybody a little bit, because you go back generations. How many generations back?
We are part of the Hildreth family.
The Hildreth family.
The Hildreth family, Hildreth store in Southampton. You like that store?
I love that store.
It's like a museum,
It's
isn't
great,
it?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, what, three floors, I think?
Yeah, 3 floors, and it all creaks when you walk through it. It's
Yeah.
in the same place, same spot, same people since 1842. It's the oldest store in America. It's pretty cool.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No.
Well,
no,
I thought
that's
you're learning some stuff today.
really the oldest
Yeah, it's
store in
very cool.
America.
So my grandmother was a Hildreth, and my dad was born in the Hildreth house. When you come down Germain in Sag Harbor,
Yeah.
Pierce Pearson School, you come to Germain in Madison, and you got to stop, and there's that little squiggle that you got to do
Yeah.
to keep going on Germain. If you look straight, there's a house right on the corner, but the little house, 200 Madison, they just added a whole big deal on it. That was an ice house in the back. My grandfather, my dad's grandfather, was in the ice business. And my dad would go out in the morning before school and cut ice and deliver it to people's houses. He's a big-chested man with big, strong hands from grabbing the tongs. And you couldn't drop the block of ice going up somebody's steps. You'd wake up the whole block and the block.
Yeah.
So that's how that started. That's my dad was born in that house. House was built in 1832. I inspected that house 2 times, and I got to go through a place where my father was born. It's really something. And you see on a girder, an old hand-hewn girder, built in 1832.
So the Hildreth store, still the same family.
Same family, yeah.
Okay, good, because then they compete with Claudio's over on the North Shore. Claudio's is one of the oldest family-owned businesses in America.
Yeah, Bill Claudio.
Since the Civil War, that same family has owned it.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
1842 is before the Civil War, so I think the competition.
yeah. I think you guys. I think Hildreth takes it, man.
Yeah, and
Hildreth
that's
takes
in the
it.
same spot. Is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is Claudio still the same? Is it Bill Claudio that
Yeah.
still has it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then his son, didn't kind of gravitate to it, and it's like a disappointment. It's like, listen, we're keeping this in the family.
It's
So
right there.
and then it was for sale, and a couple of guys and I were looking at it maybe as an investment, and then to keep the thing that we did to help him, saying, well, we'll keep your son on the board of directors, so he's still involved, so your family's still involved, and then they wound up not selling it, and then they had the other side. The daughter, she married, and the guy that she married opened the restaurant that's right next to Claudio's. I
Right.
forget what it's called, but yeah, they and we did when we were looking at the place, it has the trap door for when they were smuggling liquor,
Booze, yeah.
during Prohibition, where the boats only at low tide would come underneath it, and they'd load everything up through the trap doors, and then high tide couldn't get in. No, what are you talking about? There's nothing here. But low tide, they'd sneak in there at the darkness of night.
pretty
But
cool.
yeah, Claudio's is a
So
great
much
reputation.
history. I thought Claudia's had sold, so I'm glad you enlightened me on that. I thought when you talked about the selling thing, I thought that did go through, but
Yeah.
it did. My dad, as a kid, saw a rum running boat get shot in the bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Coast Guard fired upon it and sunk it. It's pretty cool.
Oh my God. My God. So look at the stories you have.
Oh,
so,
my God.
So the amount of generations of your family going back
I think
in the
it's
story.
14 now.
14 generations.
so.
You know, the
1635, count up from there. The Halseys have us beat, though.
yeah.
Yeah, the
So
Halseys.
I had a crush on Patty Halsey
She's-
when I was growing up. It's the cutest thing. My sister was friends with the older Halsey sister, but Patty and I are the same age, and the cutest thing. I just loved her.
Good family.
But yeah, great family, and so they were part of the American Revolution.
Yep.
You know, with Admiral Halsey, and the amount of land they have, and they have that house in on Main Street in Southampton.
That's beautiful.
1640, whatever, something. or other.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
Pretty cool.
talk about great history. So I love that. So
too, I do.
you are part of the great longevity of families.
Anything's
out
wrong
here.
with the country, blame it on the Hildreths. They've been around a long time. Right. But you're right. They took part in the revolution. Every conflict that we've ever had, somebody in my family is, I have my two brothers were veterans.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. It's pretty
So,
good.
so listen. If I don't, if it's too personal, you don't have to answer this. But so you were blind for a little while.
I wasn't. I had detached retina. Nothing's too personal to me. Everybody knows my story. I lost eyesight here in my left eye, detached retina 3 times. So I went 3 months, 10 months without really being able to work, and really couldn't see. They tried gas bubbles 3 times. They freeze your freaking eyeball. They freeze it, and you have to hold your head to the side for 2.5 months and be in a recliner.
Oh, my
Then
God.
that didn't work. Then okay, let's try the other way. And you go and you lay it this way for 2.5 months. And then finally he said, forget it, we're going to go in. And he took a silicone band. He's a genius. And he put it around my retina. This is 2006, 2007. Now it's old technology. I mean, I don't know what they did before that. So then you have to put your head down between your legs for like 13 days. And so and everything, I have perfect vision. It's,
Wow.
I
But-
can, and this is all before I drew again. This is before I started drawing again. So suppose it didn't work. I never would be. I'm so grateful to this guy. When you come to the house, I did a picture of him. I asked his people at work. I says, who does Doc like to listen to? They said, we just got this crap on the thing here. I said, no, not that. Who does he listen to in his car? He says, yeah, I don't know. So I said, tell him it's starting to rain. Give me his keys. Go shut the windows. I want to go see what he's got in his car for CDs. I went in there and he had 3 Jason Aldean CDs. Now, at that time, I didn't know much. I knew who he was. I knew he was big. I knew he was Country Music Awards and all that stuff. But I didn't really know his music. So what do? If you want to draw him, you got to listen to him. You got to find out where his core is, where he's coming from, because it all helps in the process of forming the face. Again, you're mixing his story, you're mixing his music, and you're mixing art and history together to come up with this thing that you hope you can look at. So I listened to a lot of stuff.
That you hope you can look at.
Yeah, you hope you can look at it and I got it done. And then one thing once you put it into a what do they call it? On a thumb drive, you take the print, digitize it. You can make that print this big, or you can make it 6 foot high if you want. So I made it like a greeting card because I wanted like a thank you card, and I shrunk this guy's face down to a greeting card size. Then I turned it over, so now I got a blank front. And I drew as if my grandson was drawing it. Who's a pretty good little artist, by the way. I drew what this cowboy's face looked like. So it looked like a guy with a hat, but it was, and I spelt before incorrectly on that cover. So this doctor looks at this, and he's busy. I mean, he's busy. He speaks for the whole retina group. He'll go across the world. He's the guy, #1. And we just select this from what he did. So he's looking at it. He goes, what is this? I said, turn it over. Turns it over, and there's a small picture of Jason Aldean. And he's looking at it, and he's going, wow. And it's hard to see because it's smaller. So I had a little magnifying glass. And he goes, well, look at all these words. And then he gets this one line. It says, no matter how many words you see, there's not enough words here to thank you for what you've done and express my gratitude. And then Wendy was there, my wife, and she brings in the full-size print. Stopped him dead in the tracks. It's just like, he's a little tear. And he goes, I fixed a lot of people's eyes. No one's done anything like this. I said, what am I going to do, give you a turkey and a bottle of bourbon? So that's the real joy of it.
Yeah.
That is-
Well, I bet you don't take your eyesight for granted anymore.
I
right?
don't take it for
You
granted.
know?
No, I'm so grateful to see anything happen outside anywhere. And I really like it. I don't even need glasses.
So was there a period that you thought maybe I'm never going to see again?
There was, because
Oh,
I
so,
started
okay,
having
so-
trouble with this eye too.
Yeah. So that's got to be.
And then my lens fell. I was in a crawl space, and my lens, they put a new lens in your eye, of course, because they have to get in there to do the thing. And the lens dropped, and it falls down here somewhere. And I told the pest guys there, I said, look, I can't see. I got to get out of here. it was on a weekend. I called the doctor, and he goes, I said, well, he said, what's the matter? I said, I think my lens fall. Can that happen? He says, just, it can happen. I said, is it common? He goes, no, but it's you. That's what he said. So he says, you're not going to hurt anything. Just lay low and come in Monday or whatever. So I did go in. And they put a new lens. I had to wait to get in because it's a surgical thing. 40 minutes. Take your lens out like a slice of pizza. And they throw another one in. So I asked him, I said, well, how do I know that this lens isn't going to fall again? He goes, well, you know what? We learn as we go through this stuff. This is old technology already. He says, now we put sutures, holes in the lens. I said, wait a minute. Are you telling me you are sewing to my aqueous humor? He goes, yes, we can. Think about that.
Well, I love that you can even pronounce aqueous humor, but
And vitreous is the other one.
Yeah. But that's a life-changing event.
Changed my
I mean,
life.
it really or your perspective on things.
Yeah,
but
I couldn't really inspect houses anymore, really with one eye. I'd have to be trained. I guess you could, but I was seeing everything didn't look symmetrical for a long time.
Wow.
I'm great. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
To
Well,
Phil Ferrone is his name, by the way. If anybody starts seeing a lot of flashes in their eyeball and something that's not normal, don't think I'm just getting old. These things happen, because that's what I thought. And I let it go. And it got to the point where the guy saw it, and he said, they stayed at night. They stayed late at night for me to come up to Hopwalk to fix it, because he said, don't sneeze, don't go down 2 stairs at once. He said, this is hanging by a thread. So for all those guys that did their homework in school,
wow.
thank you.
Don't sneeze.
Don't sneeze. No sneezing.
You'll be trying to find that.
But
lens.
that's so now that I do the art deal, it's like every piece I do, I go, I'm so grateful. But the joy of giving a piece to somebody like that, and the accountant, after I didn't work for 10 months, we went broke. You don't work for 10 months in East Hampton with 2 kids in school. You're sucking wind big time. And this accountant guy changed. He said, give me 3 years, we'll get you. So I found out who he liked. He liked Harry Chapin. So I got that to him. And when you give something like that from your heart, and somebody gets it, and they really appreciate it, there's no fee, there's no monetary number that can replace that.
Brad, you're a thoughtful guy.
Yeah, well,
you're
that's the joy of it.
thoughtful guy. Well, I liked you when we first met.
You want a free picture?
I'll take one.
Well, look, at some point, I'd love to have a piece of yours.
You'll
I've
get
got
one.
Haim. This is Haim's
he's
piece,
great.
and I'm buying this from Haim because I love it.
I love that too,
Yeah,
and
I
it
love
looks
this thing.
great in the back, in the backdrop here. But
Yeah, I came in here to do a podcast, and it was moving. I was like, hey, wait. So
he's a good drummer too, by the way.
Haim.
Yes,
So
indeed.
Haim, I always say that Haim is just a great thinker. So this guy's just a great thinker.
He is. He's good.
You
He's
know,
on
and,
everything.
But you too, and you lead a very full life. I love that. You're a great musician. You have wonderful friends. You're married. How's that working out for you?
46 years.
46. I guess it's working out. I guess that's working out well for you.
Yeah,
But so
yeah.
you impress me as a guy who just leads a nice full life. You enjoy everything that you
I couldn't
do.
have done it without Wendy's support, because when you play music and you do art, whatever you do, if your passion takes you away from your duties sometimes, if it's done wrong, you could build resentment. I mean, I see it. And I'm sure I've done it. I'm sure I've been there and been guilty of it. And you don't mean to, but sometimes it just has to be done. The people that play music and people that do an artistic type of thing, or they write poetry, whatever it is, nobody understands it. And I don't mean this in a like, oh, wow, such a special person type of thing. But if you don't do something like that, and I'm not saying people lead dull lives, you have a hard time understanding what it means to that individual to express what has to come out. Because if it doesn't come out, you're cheating yourself. Right now, I told my daughter who's here, my sweet little daughter Haley, she's going to be 40 in September. Can't believe it. Sing like a bird. So great. So talented. I told her we were at the beach yesterday. I said, the last 7 years of my life, since your son has been born, and I'm healthy, I can see, I got the music going again, I got the art. These are like probably the 7 best years I've had in my life in a long time. Not dissing anything else that's happened in my life with all the great things, but when it all comes together, that you feel like you're running the way you should, that the cylinders are going, and you're being the person you want to be. That's what's important. That I think it's our duty as an individual to do that. You should do what cries out inside of you to be done. So I'm telling everybody now, I do these home inspections. Somebody said, well, I used to paint. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm taking $25 off the bill. Go buy some friggin' paintbrushes and get back to it. You won't believe how great you feel. I feel like a new person since this whole thing has started. And it's wonderful. I just want to share it.
Since you started doing your art.
And the music is, I didn't have time for music before because when you're in the home inspection business, there was times I'd look at 3 houses in a day, and the people that were on the receiving end, they want their report. So you can't say, well, I got 2 gigs tonight, and no, they want it that night if they can get it. So you're up. There were many nights, 3 o'clock in the morning, all night, and I never wanted it to be said that we're waiting on Brad. So there wasn't time for, hey, Brad, we're doing something Thursday. Every Thursday, come on. Couldn't. I might be in Mattatuck. I might be in Mauritius. I might be somewhere. So I couldn't commit. I couldn't join any local things because I never knew where I was going to be. I did my job. 20,000 houses later, 35 years later, it's like, all right, I've had enough. And I do want to get out somehow, but it's hard. It's hard. They just keep calling me back.
Well, but you managed to make sure that you live your full life. You got any goals that you haven't, that you want to make sure you get to in the last years of
Yes.
how many years we get left? I don't know, but
I need 30. I'll be 103 by then.
well, luckily we're living longer these days.
We are living longer.
So living longer, living healthier.
Thanks to these good doctors, I'm in good shape.
So and then
Just had both knees replaced.
you both knees replaced.
Yeah.
And you're just walking around like it's nothing now.
I was on a roof yesterday.
Yeah.
Be on one today. You want to come?
It'd be fun to follow you around with a camera.
Oh,
You're like a
It's interesting.
a reality TV
You know
show.
what? You make it fun. We all do things every day. Sometimes you go, I got to do this again. I try to do, if I get something that's going to be, oh man, I don't want to go in that crawl space. It looks formidable. It's 2 feet high. There's insulation hanging down. There's mice, crap, whatever it is.
But you've got to be, so you're working in like mildew and probably asbestos in some places?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know why? That's why I never get cold. I swallowed so much fiberglass and asbestos. I'm insulated.
Wow. So there's a danger to your work.
Oh, yeah, Dave, but you put a mask on when you go in a bad crawl. Sometimes it'd be so bad where I was headed, I'd take a $100 flashlight and I'd throw it in the crawl. And then I said, crap, I ain't going to leave that thing in there. I got to go get my flashlight. Stimulus to get you. But you got to tell yourself this is temporary.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, it's unpleasant. We all do unpleasant things. And if you don't train your head to say, this is temporary, there's a shower after this somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's what you got to do. You got to do that. Otherwise, oh my God. If you complain about the traffic all the time, you complain about nitwit people all the time, and you complain about poor weather all the time, you're going to go meet your person at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you're not going to be a pleasant person to be with if you're built up with all that stuff. So I know I can't change it, so I don't worry about it.
So our attitude's a choice, our moods are a choice.
Yeah.
Whether we're happy or whether we're not, it's a choice.
It's a choice.
And that's something that I think that we're all evolving into an understanding of now.
Especially now. We need it more now than ever because now this is some scary stuff where we can't even talk to some family members over time. So you got to be careful what you say, and you got to find out where the other guy's coming from. I go into houses, and the broker will say to me, oh, this, and the grandmother's here, and she's this, and the father's here, and the dog, and the this. They go on all these things, conditions. I get in. By the time I leave, the guy wants me to sit and watch the Giant game with him. The grandmother's making spaghetti, and the dog's on my lap. So it's our choice of how we want to be treated and how you want to treat people.
Yeah.
You have to
Well,
make that choice.
that my book and in that living novel, there's a section that went out with the Mayan calendar, and there's a big thing that I have in there about that. It's about we recognize now that we really are the total cause of our experience. Nobody's a victim. Nothing happens to us. If something happens around us, how we respond to it is what it determines our experience.
Yeah.
And then our choices of thoughts, and now everything's about our vibration. It's like, how's your vibration? Well, your vibration isn't in alignment. Oh my God, my vibration's out of alignment. But I believe in that at the same time, actually.
Yeah.
But I do look and say we are now entering into a new evolutionary stage of our own species, and there's a new name for us. Did you know there's a new name for us? Yeah,
I got a few.
Well, we all are still hanging on to Homo sapien.
Yeah.
But I've gone to the Omega conference a bunch of times up at Bard College, and
Oh, cool.
I love that stuff and theologies but science and theology is coming together the way they are now, and understanding that really for the first time we really just understand. Look, we really are just a thought process walking around. We're an energy, and that we all are connected into this energy, but that so the new name of the species, it's that we were when we were Homo erectus and we stood up and were walking around, and anthropologists said, "Look, Homo erectus. That's what. Look what we started standing up,
straight.
and then recognition that this creature is using its brain and thinking and analyzing and understanding everything to the point where suddenly we're harnessing power and creating mechanisms to help us
Incredible.
and to enhance our bodies and our functions with our bodies and how we can build things or defend ourselves. So we became Homo sapien, thinking human. Thinking human, the human that is thinking and using its brains. But now we recognize that how we choose to think, what we choose to think about, and how we choose to think about it determines the outcome. And that actually came from Einstein and Niels Bohr when one said, "Hey, wait a second, quantum this and sun particles sun is particles, so no, sun is wavelengths." And then the way you went about analyzing it determined that you unequivocally, no, it's this or no, it's that.
Right.
And recognizing that even the scientific method had to change with the recognition that how we're choosing to go think about something is going to determine the outcome. Well, now knowing that, you can say, well, if I want this outcome, how do I choose to think that's going to bring me to that
path,
place?
yes.
So now the new name for our species, recognizing that we do have this ability and this power to create ourselves, they went through all kinds of crazy names. Some of them were so stupid. Neo-Tech Man, stupid. But the one that kind of stuck is Homo sapien sapien, the thinking man who thinks about how he's thinking about something. It's a different. It's another level, another evolutionary change of how we are thinking about things. So the recognition that we're now thinking about how we're thinking about things changes the dynamic and who we are, and we're determining our own outcomes by the way by what we're choosing to think about and the way we're choosing to think about it. And one of the hardest things there is to do is to change a person's way of thinking. Of the way they got set, and this is where they learn. So the filters that we are grown with and given, and the pre-existing biases that we don't even recognize. So, well, I'm thinking with this kind of bias that I inherited. To shed all that stuff, it's not as easy as you think.
It's not easy.
But we're recognizing that, but you see it everywhere. You see it everywhere, even with deciding the names of our genders. It's like, who would have thought, 10 years ago, that you would have gone from 2 genders to 102 genders that I even can't even figure the names of them. But
It's confusing.
yeah, but all of that changing now, even way of our perceiving ourselves. So Homo sapien sapien, the thinking human that thinks about how it's thinking about things to determine its own destinies.
Now they're thinking with AI coming in, it's like
Well,
that's
that's
another whole podcast.
That's what I actually was just mentioning that to Chris LaCour in an interview we did with him. The fact that the Mayan, I love that the Mayan calendar ended at the same time that we created a new species. We have created a new species. So then who is God? if we're creating a new species, and then AI would say, "Oh yeah, listen, I'm smarter than you." Step aside. But we've created the species. And Scott Pelley, that I worked with when I was at 60 Minutes, Scott did a piece
Oh, I
about
like him.
AI. Scott's great.
He's
but
wonderful.
but he's really he got so into this, and he's done a lot of reports on AI now. And
Try never to miss that show. I try never to miss.
yeah, I miss working on it. It
Yeah,
was
I
one of
bet
the
you
greatest
do.
experiences I ever
I
had.
did Ed Bradley's house.
Did you?
Yeah, he was
Ed,
great.
Yeah, Ed was cool with the
Oh,
little
he's
earring.
so cool.
Ed had his loved his diamond earring, but
Loved
he
his
was a very
music
cool guy.
too. He knew his music
Yeah.
inside out.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. So that's fun. You got to meet Ed.
Yeah, got to meet a lot of neat
Yeah.
people.
Wow. So the
When you're talking about change and how hard it is to change people's minds, you just today you can't go there. You're right. Don't bother. Winston Churchill, I think it was him. He had a great line. Somebody's trying to shove something down his throat and say, "You got to listen to my theory. You got this is why you got to do this." He would take a puff on that cigar, maybe had that little champagne, and he'd say, "Well, I'm afraid to say if I agree with you, we'll both be wrong." I think that's really good.
that's yeah.
That's so
Churchill
good.
had a lot of great
Oh,
expressions.
he was great.
Yeah.
He was
Well,
great. I'm going to do it. He's on my board. I have so many people that I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's funny what you said about taking a choice. In a way, if it had not been for the eye incident, I never would have had time to listen to all those books. And when I listened to The Great Bridge by David McCullough, I ended up listening by audio every book he wrote. And all that stuff, it finds its little compartment there. So that bridge story was always in my head. So it had to come out, and it comes out to be a drawing. But one thing leads to another. And as humans, we are given the ability to hopefully be able to recognize this is a good opportunity, this is a bad opportunity. And we have to try to make a choice. And if it's bad, you better learn quick and then go to the next one. That's sort of how it goes. So I'm grateful in a way that I had that time to listen to all that information, because it really set me on another path. I almost want to go back and finish college and become get a history degree, because I just find it so interesting.
Well, something like that is going to affect your
In my
life.
spare time.
Yeah. So the things that along the way that have these great impacts on our lives and how we wind up living and thinking about it.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of life-changing moments myself, but we're all having that now. Our whole species is having this life-changing moment.
It's definitely a point on the timeline. You're right.
Yep.
This is a change in the way humans
We have created a species,
Amazing.
and like I said, Scott Pelley, he's like, Hemingway was asked a long time ago, "You're one of the greatest writers ever, what's the shortest novel you can write?" And Hemingway came up with the six words, for sale, baby shoes never worn.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's kind of like, that is a whole novel.
whole story.
With character development and emotions and everything. So Scott Pelley said to AI, okay, expand on the story Hemingway did, the six-word novel, for sale, baby shoes never worn. And AI came back with this gorgeous story with this empathy.
I saw that piece.
And
It was incredible.
with the mom, and the mom was consoled knowing that her child was comforted up in heaven. It's like, and Scott was like, "This is scary to me. This is amazing that this thing has a feeling for humanity and can write about emotions
In
like
a matter
this."
of less than a
second,
minute, wasn't it? Seconds.
Boom, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that piece. It was very well done.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it's so we're at an incredibly exciting time. But last week's episode, he interviewed the they say the father of AI.
AI.
And
yes.
and he
I
said,
saw
yeah,
that.
he said we got to be careful.
Yes,
We might be creating something that could take over.
Yeah.
And you think, oh my God.
And he
And
they
it-
had
and
the
you can't
clip
just
on
pull the plug.
Oppenheimer. They played a little. They went back and he was talking about. Remember, they talked about Oppenheimer a little
Yes.
bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
he
things that
felt.
we created afterwards, realizing what did we just do?
Right. And can you imagine how he felt after that of inventing the H bomb and the atom bomb? I read that book. I
Yeah.
listened to it. The American Prometheus, which that whole movie was based on.
Hmm.
Do you know that they used to come out to Shelter Island by seaplane at the Rams Head Inn. Shh, maybe we shouldn't tell anybody. But they would meet there and have their meetings.
Really?
The Atomic
Yeah.
Commission or whatever.
The Manhattan Experiment.
Yeah,
whatever.
Manhattan Project. Amazing.
Yeah.
Who would know they were in Shelter Island, right?
This is all in a very short span of time of our lifetimes. You know, my grandfather lived to be 100, and before he died, I interviewed him the last couple of years before he died. And when he was a small boy, you walked or you rode a horse. There were no
Yeah.
cars, and so he went from horseback to space shuttles, taxiing people through the clouds and bringing them back. And it's like, wow, wait, look at that. In that amount of time, did humanity ever change as dramatically?
much.
But now it's changing even faster. The rate of change is accelerating. So now we're changing so fast. It's like, whoa, how do we control it? How do we? And that's why I'm glad we're now thinking
Yeah.
about what we're thinking about,
Yep.
because that's the most important part of our change.
They had a great clip on TV one time, speaking exactly like guys your grandfather's age. I think they had an Italian woman, 94, 93, and it was after the moon landing, and the three astronauts had come down, Aldrin, Collins, and Armstrong, and they were ticker tape parade, and they were interviewing, and they said, can you imagine in your lifetime anything such incredible? Because she was saying, hey, when I was small, you walked, you rode a bike, a horse, you know. And then we go to the moon and back. So they're telling her all these things that you've seen. This has got to be the most incredible thing that you've ever witnessed. The men coming to the moon and landing. She leaned back. She said she lived in Brooklyn. She says, nothing compared to when they built the bridge. That was the most amazing thing. So here we go back to the bridge. To her, that was the most amazing thing that happened in her lifetime, seeing all the big ships going in, the fireworks and the whole deal. But you're right. As somebody that's lived 100 years old, I love talking to older people. I just learn so much. And if we just give them a minute, it's really a minute for them is like a lifetime to somebody to have a conversation. But you can really learn a lot.
Yeah, but in those conversations I had with my grandfather that I recorded before he died, he said, times change and all kinds of things change, but people fundamentally don't change. And you think that's kind of, well, it's true. People
think
still
that's
get
true.
jealous over things. People are still, some of our behaviors. That's what I'd like to see now. It's like, okay, we should be evolving more. But he said people don't change. That stays the same. Well, we'll see, right? Because now it's
Yeah.
now we'll see.
Well, you kind of wish that all people would realize how really the same, if that element could enter everybody's head again, that we really are all the same. We have the same goals and desires for our kids and our family and our health, and we have one object to get through: teach your kids to be good citizens, all that. But man, oh man, it's gotten a little unclear, and it's hard that I don't want to get into all that stuff, but how split we are, and we don't feel like we're the same, but we're all the same. We're on this little tiny planet. You know, Earth Day, 1968, when they took that picture of the Earth, and the guy said, wow, I'm up here on the moon. But what's more amazing to me is that I'm looking at us. I'm looking at all you down here. And right now, at this moment, I'm the only human being alive that's not on Earth. Think about that.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm the only human being alive. Us men here are the only ones that are from Earth, and we're not on Earth at this moment. And I'm looking at everybody I know and all their family, all of humanity that's alive at the time. And that picture is what really started Earth Day, April 22nd, right? It was such an amazing thing. That one picture was on the cover of Life magazine, and everybody looked at that picture and said, wow, that's us.
Yeah.
And if we could only remember that it still is us.
That changes the perspective,
Yeah,
right?
we got
Looking
a
back and go,
responsibility to each other, to
Yeah.
to be decent, to be respectful, try to do the right thing. We all screw up, that's the way it goes. But try to do the right thing, but be good to yourself. If you don't respect yourself, how are you going to respect any of your fellow human beings? I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, you got to make mistakes to improve.
Yeah, you got to make mistakes because that's some of the greatest things that have been accomplished. If there wasn't for failure.
part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't grow and you can't make anything happen until you make a mistake and realize, well, actually, the mistake taught me that it's really not what I want. I wanted something else.
It's the process is the greatest thing.
Yeah.
You're right. That process of starting and saying, and this whole art thing has been, it's like, wow, where do I go? Okay, you go one way, you go, wow, I'm going to stop right there. I had an idea to do all this, but I'm looking at this now. You step back and look at it. It's a lot of stepping back and look at it because these things should be viewed from like 8 feet away. And you view them from 8 feet away and you see the piece and you go, well, wait a second. And it draws you in. And then when you go in and look at it, now you get the whole idea. But many of the greatest things I've done with these have been because I stopped and I looked at it and said, whoa, let's stop right there. Sometimes I don't know when to stop, and you put too much in, and it gets too cluttered.
Yeah.
So it's negative space sometimes works the best. Your eye will take care of it. Your eye puts in what it needs to see. That's why I call my Instagram site. It's as you saw, My Icons.
Yeah, I love it.
MYEYECONS, because I'm conning your eye to see what I want you to see. And I'm doing icons, ICONS. But you could do icons that are humans, like Johnny Cash and all those people I've done, McCartney. But Brooklyn Bridge is an icon, correct?
Sure.
Empire State Building is an icon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to do the Montauk Lighthouse. I'm trying to find now all the people that worked. I'm digging the trenches, doing whatever they did to do that lighthouse, commissioned by George Washington. It's an incredible thing that we have out there at the point. Montauk is special.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm so happy to be going down there. Almost 2 years now. Year and a half I've been going down with Joe, and we have a blast. He's an incredible musician. Everybody that's involved in that, it's an invite type of thing. If he knows you and he knows that what you can do, then it's not like an open mic, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you sort of get invited to play. The amazing thing is, as you witness, these guys go up and they'll just start a song, and no one's sitting there going, well, where do we go after the F? What do we do from the A minor? No, these guys are all so good. They just play.
Yeah.
Isn't
Hey,
it?
just to make sure everybody knows what we're talking about. In Montauk, right off the center of town, is a place called Talk at Trails End. And it's a great bar. It's like the oldest one.
Yes.
And it used to be over by the other side of the town. And one of the big hurricanes destroyed it, and they moved it over. So Talk at Trails End. Monday nights, there's this jam session with these musicians, and it's really, really good. And that's where I met this guy. And so, well, it's great. And if you'd like to see what we're talking about, you could log on to Montauk Live TV's Facebook page, Facebook Montauk Live TV, or Instagram, because I've been live streaming it. So and when he's playing, I'm zooming into his face, or when the guitar players are playing, I'm zooming into their fingers. But so every Monday night, I started streaming it over our Facebook page, Facebook Montauk Live TV. So you should check it out. Instagram too. So, but what's your Instagram for everybody to know?
Instagram is My Icons, MYEYECONS. And my email that goes with my artwork and music is called Face the Music.
Yeah.
FaceTheMusic51@gmail. I am working on a website. I want to get a website up, and I have all that my art on there. I just don't know yet. I need somebody to help me with what things should cost and all that kind of, because I know so many people. I give everything away.
Well, I can help you with that, and I'd love to, and I have some great people that could do really cool stuff. So we have a very short amount of time.
Okay.
I can't wait for everybody to come with me when we go to Brad's house, and we look at how this guy lives and what it's like. But see all of his art, where he creates it, and to show everybody that stuff closer. Because when I look at your stuff, I squint a little. And it like, oh, look at that! It makes you can see the face better. So I'll squint a little bit at it. Yeah. But great artist, great father, great family man, very cool guy, great musician, and is from a long line of people out here in the Hamptons, and the Hildreths and the Gardners family. By the way, we only have a couple seconds. The Gardners, how were they attached to you?
Lion Gardner.
Lion Gardner from
Through
Gardner's
the
Island.
Hildreth family. And Lion Gardner, the transfer of land, as we talked about with Chief Winans, with Stephen Farrow. that's all part of my family. I could have gone out to Gardeners Island when they had a family reunion down here. The Hilders family has a family reunion everywhere, somewhere in the world. And they all went out to Gardeners Island. That would have been really cool.
Wow. Look, great history. I love talking about guys like this. But thank you for joining us. The
Thank
Living Novel. Log on to thebaysideexperiment.com. If you're seeing me, we've taken off the cover page. But we can't wait to see you again. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you so much.
And we'll see you. Brad, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you,
us.
team.